I want to call our October committee meetings to order. I have a few announcements that I need to make before we start our committee meeting work. I want to remind the commissioners to please turn on your mics and also speak through your mics tonight. Would be extremely helpful. And then also I want to remind the commissioners that this is the first meeting where we have our new committee assignments. And so please take note of that. Those committee members appear on the left-hand side of each committee's agenda, and only those members are allowed to vote on committee items. So keep that in mind. Then I also want to remind the audience tonight, during the public comments, that you keep your comments to the agenda items only. Having said that, at this time, the chair will recognize Chairman Randy DeBoer of the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call the Finance Committee to order. Do we have any visitors wishing to address the committee? Seeing none?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
no.
Of course there's one.
I've made a large number of copies for your information, or you can toss it, whatever you choose to do, as Mr. Stepp did. I guess he considers it comes from a dog. I'm here to speak to the Finance Committee about bills from the county attorney and checks to the county attorney. As some of you are aware, Howard Shipley sued me individually to stop me from filming from the front row of this meeting room as part of enforcement of a cameras in the back of the room rule. My attorney, Betsy Stibler, filed a motion to dismiss the Shipley lawsuit and argued in a hearing on October 1st that Mr. Shipley...
Ms. Noe, I don't believe that item is on tonight's agenda.
This is attorney's bills that is on the Finance Committee agenda. Mr. Shipley had no right as an individual to sue me, and that the legislative body had not voted to file the lawsuit. At that point in the hearing, County Attorney Chris Katz stood up and forcefully stated that it was Mr. Shipley bringing the suit and that the county was not being charged. That is a false statement, as your Finance Committee bills will show. The county attorney knew that it was a false statement, and after the hearing dashed off a letter to Mayor Brittain and sent him a check reimbursing the county for the $717.50, which Mr. Katz claims is the amount he had billed the county for Mr. Shipley's suit. All this to try and backtrack and somehow make his false statement to the court true. Sort of like robbing a bank, getting caught, returning the money, and saying it's all good now. Mr. Katz then wrote a letter to the judge saying he misspoke, and I think we've heard that word a lot lately, and that he had refunded his charges to the county since the attorney bills paid by the county were actually Mr. Shipley's bills, and the county could decide to pay or not to pay. The county attorney did not misspeak. All the pleadings were signed Chris Katz, county attorney, not Chris Katz, attorney for Howard Shipley. The billings to the county for Shipley v. Noe were submitted with Mr. Katz's signed cover letter and spanned a period of over 7 months. Mr. Katz charged the county for the filing fee back in February 2020 and a fee for serving me on that date. The judge granted the motion to dismiss the lawsuit filed by Mr. Shipley, still pending as a counter petition or lawsuit against Mr. Shipley for various actions he has taken to target me, such as when he denied me the right to speak at the public hearing on the county budget in July. Mr. Shipley and Mr. Goins support this cameras in the back rule. They may ask the full commission to vote to bring this suit again. If they do, as I expect they will, you will debate this in a public meeting and devote time and money to putting cameras that are totally silent and emit no light, like the one over there, in the back of the room. All this to the detriment of the public, particularly those who can't attend meetings due to work, infirmatives, COVID, children's activities, or other reasons. If this is your priority to hinder taping and to prevent a quality tape both visually and sound-wise, then file suit again. But there are two other alternatives that would serve the public better with no lawsuit and no additional cost. Allow the taping as in the past from the front row or second row or in the center of those rows with a small silent camera. Or consider an option that I've mentioned several times before. Have your IT director or some other county employee or a high school student or intern tape all your committee meetings and post them on a Hamblen County YouTube channel. It's really easy. If an employee, let him or her come in late to work on committee days so he or she doesn't receive overtime pay or extra pay. Please think of the public interest and stand for open and transparent governance. Allow me or others to tape your meetings with a quiet, unobtrusive camera, or tape all your meetings yourself and post them yourself. You have the equipment. Thank you.
Do we have anyone else that would like to address the committee? Seeing none, before we move on, we want to add the extension of the Care Here Clinic lease to line item number 4.6. Old business, there is none. In new business, 4A, a bid award for electrical upgrades for Cherokee Park. Mayor Brittain.
We mentioned earlier, a couple of months ago, that we received a tourism enhancement grant to upgrade the electrical service in the campground at Cherokee Park. We bid that project and the bids were open last week, and Advent Electric was the low bidder. We had two bidders. We had Advent Electric of Knoxville in first place finish of Oak Ridge. We had four companies at the pre-bid site visit. The low bid is $22,550. The county be responsible for 10% of that, which is about $22,55, and the rest of it will be paid by the grant. So we're asking for approval of the bid amount and to award the bid to Advent Electric for $22,550.
And Bill, if it's okay, I would like to go back. I left out the expenditure reports.
Sure.
If it's okay, we'll do that, and then we'll go back and vote this.
Sure.
All right. A and B. On the item 2, recurring business, the expenditure reports for September of 2020, you have those in your packet. Do we have an approval for the, no need for approval, okay. And then the review of the acceptance of the monthly checks for September. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We've got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second,
No, I'm not.
and is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, like sign? Motion carries. Thank you. Now, going back to 4A, do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion that we approve for the Advent Electric.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Yes. Chairman, Commissioner Noe. Do we have any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, like sign. Motion carries. Item 4B, budget amendments. We got Fund 101 for parks and fair boards, Cherokee Park for $3,600. Ms. Hurst?
This budget amendment for $3,600 actually takes care of a correction that we needed. We had paid this amount out of the general fund, and it should have been paid out of general capital projects fund. It was for mulch for the playground in Cherokee Park's, one of the playgrounds, and it was to be paid from some grant funds that had remained in capital projects fund once they're done. And so this actually takes care of the accounting process.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, like sign. Motion carries. Item 4B2, Fund 101 for public safety projects, $36,431.95.
This is for the purchase of a vehicle to be used for mental health transports. And specifically, this grant calls for an unmarked vehicle. That's why we just can't use the vehicles that the Sheriff's Department already has. And this is per the specific terms of this grant. They want an unmarked car, and this has already been discussed, of course, with the Sheriff's Department. And the grant funds can be used for this purpose. And that's, basically why it's for this specific grant. The grant funds cover this. There's no matching money at all. And then if you read the description for an unmarked car, that's to meet the terms of the grant.
Can this car be used for anything else?
Yes, they're not restricting the use of this vehicle, but they're saying that they want, as we move forward with what the state considers to be I'm going to say a strong mental health program here in the county, they want mental health patients not to feel like they're, I'm going to say, criminals. And that's the basic underlying, I'm going to say, support for this. They want, as mental health patients are being transported, they want them to be in an unmarked car.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
We got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Yes.
Is the price for the vehicle?
Yes, it is.
And what kind of vehicle?
I believe I think it's for a Dodge.
Is it a van?
No, just for a regular transport vehicle.
Four-door car?
That's my understanding.
SUV.
SUV.
Do they have,
It does have communications equipment in it.
do they have a vehicle now that they use, even though it might be marked?
Yeah.
Yes.
They do have
But
that
they
specifically for that?
Pardon?
Specifically for that? Then why don't they just take?
No, I'm going to say this. Let me say this. I'm going to have to ask. Not that I understand it's specific. They just use whatever car's available and whatever drivers for that car.
It would save about $36,000 if we just took the marketing off. If that's what it's for.
Well, Tim, what this is all about is the state of Tennessee is, and this grant came from the Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse. And they issued a couple of years ago a grant request for proposals from counties to with the intent of helping offset county expenses when it comes to transporting mental health patients from the hospital.
So
This isn't
so you're saying we can't use that $36,000 anywhere else within the mental health department?
That's correct.
We can't.
That's, because, all right, it's a $100,000 grant, and we got about $100,000.
Understand what I'm saying is, we can't use that within the mental health section anywhere?
Well,
Within-
our grant application included the car, because they want the patients transported in unmarked vehicles, and they all, some other things is like the officers, not look so much like law enforcement officers, like those kind of things. And we're one of maybe 5 counties that got this grant.
Well, why can't we use the $36,000, take all the markings off the car that you're using, pay salaries for the officers that's driving them down there or whatever, or?
That's part of the grant too. I mean, that's, the car is just part of it. It's like a third of the grant. And the
But
rest-
I don't understand, because it just, to me, it seemed like we can save $36,000 if we just take the markings off the car that they're using.
Was the car entered into the grant, Mayor, when it was?
Yes, it was part of the application.
So we'll lose that $36,000 if we don't spend it on the
So
car.
we lose.
It's not that we can move it.
Is the price of this vehicle from the state bid list?
State bid, and it's equipped with communication equipment,
Okay.
and the cages and everything.
What will you do with the old car?
We don't have one.
Oh,
We don't have one specifically for mental health.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
This one specifically for mental health.
Are they allowed to take multiple people on one trip, or can you only take one at a time? It would seem like a van. I think that would be maybe a more appropriate vehicle for that task.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I don't know, that's probably not for me to answer. Anybody else here?
I think it would depend on the patient.
It would, and the way the hospital processes them, and the mental health transports are something we've struggled with for a long time. And not just Hamblen County, but all across the state. And this was a way that the state tried to approach, I guess, the request from counties to help offset the costs, and we were one of the recipients of this grant.
So if we had 4 people to transport, that's like 4 different trips. And a van would work so much better.
Well, but they could be going 4 different places. They don't all go to Moxon, Ben, and Chattanooga.
Right.
And you also have to consider that the 4 patients may have different ailments, and there's something going on, and you can't travel them together.
Well, they don't put inmates, but one inmate in a police car now, don't they?
Yeah, normally we just transport one. I will say this, when it was discussed with me, and I wasn't in all the meetings, when the vehicle was spec'd out, it was spec'd out with what's called a split rear, which means you could transport 2 people at one time in this vehicle. But that would be the maximum, would be 2.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 4.3. Fund 101 for animal control, $213,295.
Now, this is a very long amendment, as you can see. It's actually got it taken 2 pages, where we are actually putting that whole budget in. I'm going to say in the budget. We're going to make a budget amendment for the whole budget. We have the appropriation spreadsheet. We have the revenues that are coming from the city of Morristown. And then we're making up the rest of the appropriation that Hamblen County needs from the recovery or drug court budget that's that drug court and recovery court's no longer operational at this point. So, as you can see, this is the budget, I believe, that Mayor Brittain, that you discussed and had approved with the city of Morristown. And so they have seen this and are agreeing to the expenses as they are laid out here. It takes care of a budget supervisor and director, a deputy, such things, I can just read them down through here: overtime, all the payroll taxes, Social Security, TCR, pension, life insurance, medical insurance, employee Medicare, also communications. Now, the big item here is contracts with private agencies. We already have part of that in our budget as we speak. For the rest of the year, that will take $160,000. Now, we have $100 already in the budget, so we just have to add 60 at this point. Then the other things through here: licenses, various maintenance and repair items, small amount of travel, disposal fees, gasoline, which is a major item in this budget, office supplies, tires and tubes, uniforms, other supplies and materials, in-service staff development, office equipment, and some other equipment that's specifically for hotels. Now, the capital items for this budget are 2 vehicles, one for each of these folks. $55,000 is budgeted, and then some other equipment. It'll be things like getting cages and other equipment that'll be needed for animal control. Now, to pay for that, we'll need City of Morristown. This is exactly half of what will be needed for this budget number. So half of this, and we'll bill them quarterly, based on what we actually spend. So if we don't, so this is budgeted, and if we don't spend it, now of course then we will not actually bill them for it. We'll just bill them for what we actually spend. Then to make up the difference in the budget, we're taking from the deputy's line item at the drug court or budget, and from the supervisor's director's line. So we're not having to take anything out of fund balance, is the point that I'm trying to make with this. That will fund it with the City of Morristown and with what we were not going to spend out of the recovery court and court budget.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
And
I want to know, if we do this, am I assuming that we're maybe, you're buying 2 cars, so I assume that's about $70,000, $35,000. Then we do that one time, and then like next year will be $70,000 less, or so next 5 years, something like that?
Now, Mayor Britt's going to add some detail to this, but your basic presumption is right. Those would be the capital expenses here for automobiles ought to be a one-time expense for at least a number of years. Now Mayor Brittain will add some detail about the automobiles.
Joe, you're right. On the capital expenses that I outlined in the proposal last month are one time. And then there will be replacement of cars whenever they're worn out. We have purchased a van for the animal control. It's a cargo van, 2014, with 88,000 miles on it. It was $12,800. So that's the kind of thing we're looking for. So the $55,000 was a guess, but just to be frank, and we're looking for to spend a whole lot less. Now, the equipment that's in the capital, the computers for the cars, the mounts, the radios, the body cameras, those are more accurate. Those came from expenses that we've had with the Sheriff's Department, because Sheriff Jarnigan wanted to equip these ACOs as a law enforcement, like a deputy would be equipped. And so that's, those expenses are right on. I just wanted to let you know, on the 55,000 on the vehicles, we're not looking to spend 55, we're looking for better deals than that, and we found one. The Humane Society last night voted to give us a small cargo van, not cargo van, minivan with 202,000 miles on it that they weren't using. We'll use that for a little while until we find we need a four-wheel drive vehicle now. And so, so we're looking, we're looking to be professional, but we're also looking to do it as efficiently as we can.
Mayor, when do you anticipate having this program on board?
The agreement that you will, let's see, the agreement is November 1st that you passed. Their ACO that they have on staff now will stay through the month of November and help train our guys. So November 1st is when we'll have our guys on the staff, and then they'll be doing it solo December the 1st.
Have you already got the two guys hired?
I've got one hired. I've got the supervisor hired. His name's Greg Winstead. He's already a deputized officer. He's one of our part-time courtroom security guys, and so he'll start November 1st.
Now, what's his salary?
The annually will be 38, and what I did is I compared it to a patrol sergeant, and then the ACO is comparable to that'll be the number 2 guy, will be a little less than a night shift corrections officer. So I tried to align those with pay in the sheriff's department.
A question on
Okay,
the
am I assuming that the 230,000, if it comes up to 180,000, when you together, are you gonna put the rest of it back in the general fund then?
Yeah, whatever's not spent will go back into the fund balance.
Okay, all right.
Yes, it is.
What was the contract,
Except for the city.
Correct.
exactly what's the 60,000 supposed to be used for? Contracts with private agencies?
For animal shelter. For
Okay.
humans.
And the increases that we have, the 25.5 beginning at the top, the city is, that's only our portion, right? The city has their portion to go, or?
No, this is an eight-month budget,
8 months, okay.
from November 1st
Okay.
to the end of the
I got
year.
you. Okay.
This is
So-
an 8-month budget.
So, the full 12 months would be the 38,000,
Correct.
and I got you.
Now, if we spent every penny of what's in this budget, if we did, then the city of Morristown would reimburse us the 156 that you see here. But if we actually spend less, like in the purchase of the vehicles, if we spend less on supplies or gasoline, then we will only bill the city of Morristown what we actually, half of what's actually spent. And they will reimburse us that, the corresponding half of that.
Any other questions? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4.4, Fund 122, for drug fund enforcement, $14,000. Ann?
The Sheriff's Department has requested these funds, and we have representatives from the Sheriff's Department here tonight that can speak more to the program aspects of this. But let me go ahead and talk about just what the budget amendment does. They requested $14,000 and to purchase riot gear and related protective equipment for officers. And that was due to the current situation, just the general, and like I said, they can speak more to the program aspects of this. But just to make sure that our officers were protected in case there was any, let's say, serious type of disturbances in the county that they needed to respond to, that they would have appropriate equipment. So they asked for $14,000 from the drug fund, which is appropriate use of that fund, those funds. And it would come from the drug fund balance. And that's what this entry represents. And that's what it's for. Now we have folks from our sheriff's department here tonight that can speak to the program aspects of this. But this will, if you'll decide to do it, then this is the entry that would accomplish that.
Okay. The reason we were looking at this, or the sheriff's department's looking at this, I'm sorry, we're tired. The reason the sheriff's department's looking at this is the city of Marshtown had an incident, protesters. They got a little out of hand, but not real bad. But the possibility that we could have more and it could get worse is there. We have a mutual aid agreement with the city of Marshtown. If they were to need assistance, then they're going to call on the sheriff's department first because we're closest. Obviously, they could call on the Tennessee Highway Patrol. What we're looking at is the ability to equip approximately 12 to 15 officers with riot gear should we have an incident, or more likely should the city of Marshtown have an incident that we would need to respond and assist them with. Plus, these are the officers that should there be an incident in the jail and they need this equipment, they're going to be responding to the jail with or without this equipment. And we were looking at that aspect of it too.
You mean that the sheriff's department don't have no right here?
No.
No.
None.
I commend you for wanting to do that. I
Yeah,
think the big
shields.
Got a motion to approve, do we have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second, any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4B5, Hamblen County Education Budget Amendment. Number 4, and this is to increase to $3,107,021, and I think that number changed on the last 2 digits.
81 cents.
Thank you, Tracy. This amendment tonight includes 3 allocations of grant funding. We've received a $2,500 grant from Molly toward the Career and Technical Education Career Exploration Bus, a $5,000 grant from HC Excel to help provide internet services to economically disadvantaged students, and our Safe Schools grant of a little over $297,000, and that funds a portion of our school resource officers and training for those officers as well as teachers and counselors, and also allows us to purchase safety equipment such as video surveillance, two-way radios, that type of equipment. The last item is a request to budget $2.8 million from undesignated fund balance, and $452,000 of that would go toward the purchase of kindergarten through 2nd grade laptops, and this would allow us to provide virtual instruction for all kindergarten through 2nd grade students in the event in school we were required to go completely virtual. The other portion of that has been funded through CARES funds and other federal grants that we received through the state of Tennessee. The last item, $2.3 million for capital. When we brought our original budget, we really didn't want to bring the large capital budget we normally bring just because of the economic uncertainty at the time. Our sales tax has continued to come in above last year's, and so we felt like it was the time to bring that to you. Mr. Clemens here to answer any questions about those individual lines. There was a copy included behind the amendment, and it's the general items that we normally bring, such as paving, painting, carpet and tile. There were also a couple of larger items, makeup, air, units for Manly Primary and are re-roofing at Witt. But other than that, it's pretty much the standard capital budget we bring. And we'd be happy to answer any questions on
You
that.
got $200,000 for athletic equipment. What is that?
Part of that money would go to take care of athletic facilities, fields, practice fields, scoreboards, there's some scoreboards we're gonna have to update in place.
And the other thing is the land acquisition, 200,000.
We always put money in there for purchase of property around our high schools because there's
So we got any property we're looking at?
We have one piece of property on the East High, near the East High campus that we're negotiating on this now.
Tracy, the setting up the capital budget for the computers for the kindergarten through second grade, is this to supply each and every student with a computer? And, I mean, I know they're smarter than I am on a computer, but that's the idea.
And in the event we had the need to go completely virtual, every student would have a device to work with. And it is a laptop, but it also folds out to a tablet for the younger students.
Is this the same conditions like the high schoolers they get? They're assigned out, I guess, to a responsible adult kind of thing?
It is.
Are all the kids taught how to use a computer from first and second grade?
They are this year. When we started out the year,
Really?
there was a lot of discussion about going through that process and teaching the students how to use the Google Classroom platform, which is what our online students use currently, so that if anything were to happen and the need were there, they would have a familiarity with the programs and the computer.
You also determine whether they have internet or not when you get home?
We have applied for a couple of grants. HCXL's been kind enough to provide that. We have done surveys about internet connectivity and how many students have it and how many students need it. Through our CARES funding, we were able to purchase MiFi devices or hotspots, and the students who wanted to be virtual, who didn't have access, were allowed to come and pick those up, and they would be able to have internet services at no cost. So we've been fortunate to have several grants to help us provide that.
Is it taught in both languages? Spanish and English both?
Yes.
Pardon?
Yes, sir.
I hope we don't have to do that. It'd be tough to teach a kindergartner to read at home.
We hope that as well.
Mm.
You won't believe how much a kindergartner knows on the computer. I have a kindergartner at Gretchen also.
Exactly.
They do know more than you realize.
That helped me out some.
Do we have any further discussion?
I'll make a motion, we approve these amendments.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, like sign? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, item 4B6, and this is the proposal to extend the lease on the Care Here Clinic. Hey, Brittain?
The current lease on the clinic space that we've had since 2011 expires at the end of the month, and the proposal is to renew the lease for 3 years at the same monthly rent, which is $1,650 a month.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, like sign? Motion carries, and that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. The board, at this time, the chair will recognize Chairman of the board of the Personnel Committee.
Okay, I'd like to call the Personnel Committee to order. Do we have any visitors wishing to address the personnel committee? In old business, we have none. In new business, we have approval for longevity pay submission. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Got a motion for approval, do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. And 4B, approval of military pay submission. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 4C, Resolution 20, a resolution authorizing Hamblen County not to implement the discretionary payroll tax deferral program permitted by the IRS. Mayor Brittain?
I think I'm gonna lean on, Ann to handle this one.
What we have here, and I try to basically, in this resolution, I think the basic facts are stated. The county had an option to offer a deferral of the 6.2 part of the payroll tax to its employees. And I want to emphasize that this was a deferral, and it would have been for the last 4 months of this year. And then, in the first 4 months of 2021, the county would have to go back and recoup that money from employees. So if you offer the deferral, and say someone did, and then you have to make it double up on the amount of payroll tax you collect from them in the next 4 months. And all the discussion about that has been that, that can create, particularly in certain people who have particularly an issue with personal finances, that can create a hardship that they may not be thinking. They may not realize the difference between a deferral and just not having to pay it at all. And I hope I'm being clear with that. That this is not a forgiveness of your payroll tax, because that would be a no-brainer that everybody would be able to take advantage of. This would just say, we don't collect it now, but we're going to go back and we're going to collect not only what you owe at that time, but extra, the extra that you didn't pay. And then, what we're reading about it is that, say you have an employee that just happens that you defer their payroll tax, very legitimately, and they leave, say come January. What we're reading now is that the county would be left on the hook. Since it was just a deferral, the government is still owed their money. The federal government is still owed their money. And even though we didn't collect it, we as Hamblen County, back in this time, right now, we would owe it later, because that would be our responsibility. So that's the current guidance that we have now. So this just puts it out there for y'all that we think it's not only gets over you get down to the nitty-gritty how you're going to administer this, but then it also keeps the county from having maybe an unknown liability come next year in 2021.
Do we have a motion to not implement the discretionary payroll?
I'll make a motion.
Got a
I'll
motion?
second it.
And a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Moore. This time, the chair will recognize Chairman Tim Goins of the Public Service Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. Public Service Committee order. Anybody wishing to say anything? You got 5 minutes. Seeing none?
No old business, new business. 4A, order establishment of work release program. Right here. I'm sorry, gentlemen, can we have the hats moved out of the courtroom? Take your hats off, please. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, so I'm the work release coordinator. This is a commission that's established every 4 years. It's been done since 1998. The sheriff appoints the commission. It's approved by the judge and then presented to you all for approval.
It's clear.
Any questions?
Any questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, to make the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes. Thank you, ma'am. Item 4B, surplus items from the circuit court, Mayor Brittain, just basically a printer, just printer.
That's it, yeah.
We're surplus that. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.
Who seconded the motion?
Oh.
Tim.
Item 4C, resolution to amend the zoning map of Hamblen County, zoning tax map 058, parcel 061.00, district 04-4656, Old Lowland Road, Morristown, from A1 to I1. Josh? Can't tell who you are with all those names.
Yes, sir. So Mr. Rich has made a request to rezone, as you just noted. Part of his land is approximately 6.65 acres from agriculture to industrial, and he's stating he wants to do such for our construction business to serve the local community. And Planning Commission did look at this at their September meeting and did vote in support of this request. And Mr. Rich is here. If you have any questions, I'm sure he can expound further upon this. So,
Any questions?
John, if you want to go in I-1,
That's what they said it had to be.
yeah,
They first said it was need to be, commercial.
Yeah.
And then where they said it was fabrication shop and metal or anything, they moved it to industrial.
yeah, the reasoning for that, we thought I-1 better fit what he was wanting to do. That, and then also if he did want to expand his business and do more fabricating to help the community, to, his construction, it wouldn't be as questionable as it would in a commercial district, so.
that can still go under C1 commercial.
But
Business. You can have either one he wants.
But once you're getting more fabrication, I mean, we just thought that was better for his future interests. That way, in case they want to expand and do more, fabrication or more industrial work, then it's not a question, and then there's no complaints. And it's kind of, if you look at that area as far as the city goes, you do have some industrial land out there, so.
It's gonna cost you more.
Yeah, I asked them if there was any changes
I'm sure
in.
you know that. I-1 is in the industry.
Yeah.
It's higher.
I asked them if there was any changes in the taxes between commercial and industrial, and they said that there was not any cost difference in tax.
Well, you're in an industrial situation out there anyway. You got ink all the way around.
The Worley property that joins us, the old ball field, is industrial.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in the city, and that is zoned industrial, so.
Jonathan,
You wanna go I-1?
Yeah.
have you confirmed that there's no difference in the tax base on commercial? and
I'm just going off what everybody is
Well,
told me to do.
I think I was at that meeting and it was an assumption that you may want to, either way, like Josh says, because of the type of business fabrication, I-1 was the best fit. However, I don't want to, Larry, you got something?
Commercial, industrial, the same assessment rate.
Okay, thank you.
Now residential is lower, but commercial and industrial is the
There
same.
you go. Thank you, sir.
Motion to approve, Chair.
Motion?
Second.
Second.
time, the chair will recognize Chairman Horner of the Justice Center Jail Project Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'd like to call the Justice Center Jail Project Committee to order. Anyone who wishes to make a comment, please, we have 5 minutes.
My name is Linda Noe, 2343 Joe Stevens Road. I'm going to give you the option of letting me explain why your commissioning contract is void, or I'll wait till commission meeting, whichever you would like. Do you want to hear it, or do you want to wait till the commission meeting?
Just go ahead.
Okay. In your contract with HEA, you had the name of the engineer, Anthony Middleton, and he is says he is the commissioning agent and primary point of contact. I took it to be that he was the one that you would be, that applied for the engineering license. At your last meeting, your special call meeting on April 6th, Tony Pettit with Burwell said that the application was in process, and I believe he said it'd be about 2 weeks. Now, I see you all looking at something. May I ask if you all have something that was not in the packets? I see it's from the Department of Insurance and Commerce. Secret?
No, it's not a secret. We were handed where his application is approved and he's licensed.
When was that? When did that happen?
It was today.
In front of you.
I'm sorry, what, everybody saw at the same time?
Today, 11/17.
10/13.
Because he did not even have an application in just a few days ago. And I have that from the Department of Insurance. But you know what, even if he had this application approved, HEA had to have a Tennessee engineer on board in order to submit a proposal back on whenever it was, September 8th, I think, something like that. There was HEA did not have a licensed engineer. You purportedly changed your request for proposals to say that, oh, you only have to have it when you start work. Check with the Department of Insurance and Commerce and see if you have to have it when you submit a proposal. And that would be the other reason it would be void. He did not have a license, and HEA did not have anyone licensed in Tennessee when they submitted that proposal. And I think you had several others that did not have a Tennessee engineer at that time also. The other item is looking at, I've never seen a request for proposal handled like this one was at all, besides all the irregularities that I just mentioned. Every time you've done a request for proposal, you have picked someone, and then you've negotiated with them to see if you could come up with a contract, and if not, you would go to the next person. Who came up with the idea of, we'll go with people and kind of open it all back up when the bids have already been opened? And I don't say the bids, the proposals have already been opened, and those prices are already there. And 4 of the 5 that you dealt with changed their price. So many things wrong with that. Why didn't you let the other 5, who knows how they might have changed their price too? If you're going to do business like that. But check with the department and see if you have to have a license when you submit a proposal. Not after the proposal, not after the contract. And if you have that on that sheet of paper, I would like to know, because I was not told that. I was told the opposite. Thank you.
Anyone else wish? not, old business, there is none. New business. Commissioner Neesmith has requested 15 minutes to make a jail presentation after consulting with Mr. Curtis, TCCA. I, as chairman of the Justice Center Jail Project, can make that decision, or the full commission can vote on it. I decided to defer and let the full commission vote. And at this time, I will entertain a motion to hear Commissioner Neesmith's request.
Chairman, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that you not make this thing, because we've been through this how many times? How many years? How many more times are we going to go through it?
Have a motion not to hear. Do I hear a second?
I'll second the motion.
Have a second. To be clear, if you want to hear Commissioner Neesmith's presentation, vote yes. If not, vote no, and we'll do this by roll call.
That's not.
Can't vote no.
Your motion is not to hear it.
Not to hear it.
So a yes is not to hear it. Is that correct? That's the way I heard it.
Yeah. The motion is not to hear, so a yes would be not to hear.
Yes.
And no would be to hear.
Not to hear, and no to be here.
Everybody got that?
Say that again, please.
Yes to hear it, or no not to hear it, right?
No.
I apologize. Thank you.
This is another one who's vote yes for no.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Does everybody understand?
Make your motion again.
I make the motion that we not hear it, because we've been through this too many times. So my motion would be no,
Not to hear.
not to hear it.
Yes to hear. Right. No, not to hear.
Yes,
Yes.
No,
Go ahead,
no.
John.
Yes,
What you
not
done?
to hear, no to hear. You understand that, Taylor?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, not to hear, no to hear.
Jeff Baker,
No.
Eileen Armline,
Yes.
Chris Cuttshaw,
No.
Randy DeBoard,
Yes.
Thomas Doty,
No.
Tim Goins,
Yes.
Bobby Hahn,
Yes.
Tim Horner,
Yes.
Joe Hunson,
No.
Wayne Neesmith,
Yes. No.
No.
Mike Reed,
No.
Howard Shipley,
Yes.
Jim Stepp,
Yes.
Taylor Ward,
Yes.
eight not to hear, six to hear, eight is majority, so
Motion passes.
not to hear.
Okay, item 4A, bid award, demolition and clearing of properties for Justice Center, Brittain.
Trish, you want to do that?
Please.
Last week, we opened bids for the demolition of 6 properties on the Justice Center site. They would be these 3 former law offices, and then the bonding company, the EMS administrative building, and then the Wilder property. So it'd be those 3, and then these 3, the demolition of those six buildings. We had 7 bidders, and the low bid came All Star Construction Demolition at $44,577.
7 and met all the requirements of the bid.
We want the first three, that's those houses up on Jackson.
Correct, yeah. These two are on Jackson, that one's the old Stanbaugh office right in front of the Justice Center.
So the recommendation is the 44,577 by All-Star Construction vendors.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No. Who made the second?
Jim Stepp.
Jim said.
Item 4B, lease agreement with Marshall County Rescue Squad.
Couple months ago, the commission approved after a couple months of discussion, the lease of the property, or the building actually, that the rescue squad has on the county's property. And this is the one building on that block that will not be demolished. So in your packet is the formal lease agreement. It's a 99-year lease. This lease meets the criteria that you said earlier. It's a 99-year lease for $1 a year, $99 to be paid in full up front. Runs from November 1st of 2020 to September 30th of 21/19. There is a 30-month out clause in it. One of the conditions, or one of the stipulations that you passed in a couple of months ago is that there be an out clause. There is a 30-month out clause, so if either party wants out of the lease, they have to notify the other one 2.5 years in advance. Give either group a chance to plan for their move. Also, if you look at number 13, the agreement under surrender of premises, this deals with another one of the stipulations that you approved, and that was that at the end of the lease term, that the property, both the building and the land, reverts back to the county, and the county will pay the rescue squad the appraised value of the building only. Now, the county attorney, we'll present this in written form in a couple of days, but the county attorney's asked that I change some of the verbiage. So in that number 13, this is the way it will read. It will read, at the termination of this lease and at any extension hereof, the premises, including land and buildings, shall revert to the landlord, which is the county. Landlord will then pay to tenant, which is the rescue squad, an amount equal to the appraised value of the buildings only. The appraisal of the buildings will be conducted by a certified commercial appraiser agreed upon by the parties, and the appraisal cost shall be shared with each party to pay 50% of the cost. So this is the lease agreement. It contains all the stipulations that you wanted in that agreement.
Is there any more discussion? If not, do I hear a motion to approve?
I make that motion.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Ayes carried. 4C, property exchange agreement with Marshall County Rescue Squad. Rich?
Let's see. Here is, on your screen is the property that's involved in the property exchange with the rescue squad. And this, again, you approved a couple of months ago in concept, and this is the legal document that we will enter into. with the rescue squad. The county, if you look at the bottom of page 1 of the agreement, you'll see that the county agrees to convey the property at 425 North Jackson Street, which is parcel 32. That's the old Whitehead office building that we bought from the Whitehead family, and that would become property of the rescue squad. It'd be used as EMS's administrative office. We would also pay the rescue squad $75,000 for moving expenses and repairs to that property. In exchange, we would receive parcel 29, which is a vacant lot on Allison Street. We would also receive parcel 30, which is the administrative office of EMS, and we would also receive the eastern half of parcel 25 of the lot that runs from North Jackson back about 3/4 of the way back toward Allison Street. The county owns this right here. And what this property swap does is, what's on your screen now is the property that the county would own for the Justice Center project. So this would complete the acquisition of the property for the Justice Center project.
Mayor, do we not own 20 and 21?
Gotta put my glasses on. No, that's at the corner. Those are owned by Tom Hyde.
Oh, I'm looking at it the wrong way. I'm sorry. I was thinking about the parking lot to the old jail. Okay, I see now. Okay.
Is there a proposal on what to do with the building 30? Will it be used for anything in the short term? Or will
No,
it be,
see, you just approve the bid.
yeah, so it'll all be
Demolished,
torn
it'll be
down.
demolished. Any other discussion?
Which one of those, is that where the training tower is?
That's on 20,
20?
I think. Let's see, hold on a minute. Let me back up here. That's on 25, I'm sorry. It's on 25 right there. Right there is the tower.
Where are they planning on moving that?
They may not rebuild it, but they may move it right here. They own this property right here.
Where was that built?
It's right here.
Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Bill, on the lease, can they upgrade their building
Yes, it becomes ours.
to what?
It would become ours. Whatever they add to the building would become ours at the end of the lease.
That's providing an appraised value, is it?
Yes. I mean, it would, yeah, we'd have to pay them, the appraised value. And that's in the terms of the lease.
Yeah.
Do I hear a motion to approve the agreement?
So moved.
Got a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No. No. Two notes, thank you.
Ayes carried. 5A, items of interest, no action necessary. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Horner. At this time, the chair will recognize Chairman Stepp of the Calendar and Rules Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. I call to order the Calendar and Rules Committee. The individual wishes to address the committee, may do so now at this time. If not, any old business in 3A, there is none. We go to 4A, review of regular calendar items with the addition to the Finance Committee agenda number 4C, proposal to extend the lease with the Care Here Clinic Do I hear a motion? Motion. Motion, to have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second. Any discussion? All first say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 4B, review the consent calendar items. Your form of motion. Motion approved. Motion, have a second?
Second.
Second, any discussion? All approved, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. That's all I have.
Thank you, Chairman Stepp. That concludes the agenda items that's on the agenda tonight. I would like to remind you that if you don't care, leave your notebooks here, and Trish will prepare them for the next meeting. And she's also going to email you some invoices that were missing in tonight's package. Thank you. We stand adjourned.